Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Christina McNeil, and this is MB12 for Tuesday, June 26, 2012, broadcasting from the Cable 12 studios on Robinson Road. In news tonight, a man speaks out after reportedly fighting off an alleged rapist wanted by police. Government set to form a task force to look into human smuggling in the Bahamas. Officials reveal a unified public transportation system may be in the works. Police still investigating a double shooting off Nassau Street Monday night, and preparations to repair public schools over the summer break. We have those stories and much more coming up tonight. Your MB12 starts right now. Joining us. New details are emerging concerning the alleged rapist that police believe recently assaulted several women across New Providence during early morning home invasions. Today we have the story of a Western New Providence man who says he came face to face with one of the men when his family was targeted early Saturday morning. Jasmine Bonmi reports.
It's a situation that nobody wants to find themselves in, having to fight off an alleged rapist as he tries to enter your home. But it's a situation that one man says he was confronted with over the weekend. According to the resident who did not want to be identified for fear he and his family may again be targeted, he says the ordeal unfolded before dawn on Saturday. He says he was home sleeping along with 3 other women and a child in their Western New Providence apartment. He says he was awakened by blood-curdling screams coming from another bedroom. It was then, he says, he ran into the room to find a shirtless, unmasked man entering the home.
It was Saturday morning, roughly between 3:30 and 4 o'clock, and I heard horrible screaming coming from one of the bedrooms. I rushed in there and I saw an individual coming through the window. He was about halfway through. He had his left hand on bureau, in his right hand he had a pistol.
It was at that point he made the split-second decision and rushed forward to try and stop the man from entering. He says they tussled with each other for a few minutes, and as he tried to push the intruder back outside, the man tried to shoot him. He provided photos that show the shot missed its intended target and ended up in a wall.
As I was running towards him, he raised the gun to my level, and I braced myself, and I really expected that I was about to get shot. I thought that was it, basically. And at the same moment, it's like I hit my toe or something. I stumbled at the same time while he shot, and he missed, and I was able to get to him and basically struggle with him. While I was struggling with him, he was doing his best to try and aim the gun at me to take another shot at me. In that moment, there was a moment, right before, he shot, like, his intent was to kill me. Like, it isn't any question. I feel as though his intent was to do harm. There's no other way to explain it. There wasn't any hesitation in shooting at me. There wasn't any, there was just no hesitation. So basically, he was willing to kill without any hesitation and any remorse.
After the ordeal, he says he gathered the 3 women and child who live in the apartment, placed them in another bedroom, and called police. By daybreak, they had learned just how much worse the situation could have been. Outside the bedroom window, they found a wooden crate propped up against a wall where the suspect allegedly tried to gain entrance. He says a review of neighbors' surveillance footage also revealed that the suspect had an accomplice, as both men were seen running from the back of the apartment complex.
Sometimes when things happen, sometimes it almost takes a while for you to realize that something is real, that is really happening. It's like, this has got to be a dream or something. So, hearing the screams that I did, I'll never forget what that sounded like. I've never heard anything that sounded so horrible. Even now, like, sometimes, like, I still feel as though I could still smell the gun smoke, and I still feel as though I could just that moment, when I just the sound of the gun and everything, and it's not necessarily an easy thing. Like, at the time, I guess adrenaline is going, things are happening so fast that you can't really process it, but it's afterwards that you really sit down and you realize, how easily someone was willing to take your life. A lot of it's going to come down to us as communities and as environments. We're going to have to know who our neighbors are. We're going to have to watch out for each other. So if you see something suspicious, you can call. You see someone in the neighborhood that you've never seen before, you should know your neighbor and be able to call them and say, well, hey, is this person supposed to be there? I think we need to have community watches and those things so that we could look out for ourselves.
As the search for the men continues, descriptions of them have been released. They are described as having low haircuts with light complexions. One of the men is described as standing 5 feet 7 inches tall, and the other 6 feet. Both men appear to be in their late 20s. Meantime, the alleged rapes have prompted a response from Free National Movement Deputy Leader Loretta Butler Turner, who called on the government to address the critical matter without jeopardizing national security considerations. Reporting for NB12, I'm Jasmine Bonamy.
Well, Foreign Affairs and Immigration Minister Fred Mitchell says he's in the process of putting together a task force within his ministry in response to the Cozy Time tragedy off Abaco 2 weeks ago. Speaking to reporters outside the Cabinet office this morning, Mitchell said this issue of human smuggling is very serious and it will take an aggressive approach to deal with it. Charisma Robinson reports.
As authorities work to identify the criminals behind these operations, they say there's not enough information coming from the public about these crimes. Mitchell says a part of the problem is that too many Bahamians turn a blind eye to the obvious.
So I've determined that we are going to put together a task force between immigration and foreign affairs to bump up the public education efforts on this. And then there have to be concomitant measures taken with the Royal Bahamas Police Force and the Defense Force in terms of the work they're doing to make sure that the enforcement and interdiction becomes more strenuous and aggressive.
But the minister says these efforts would be in vain if people don't take the problem seriously.
I think people don't really understand how serious an issue it is until something like what happened in Abaco takes place and you have the loss of life. And what I'm pleased at is that there was a swift arrest and swift prosecution is taking place because we need to send out a signal on this. So it's a combination, in my view, of public education and enforcement.
43-year-old Alfonso Edner was charged last week with 11 counts of abetment to manslaughter in connection with that alleged human smuggling mission that left 11 people dead. Mitchell says he was pleased with the charges.
Whatever happened led to the death of these people. And so one has to look at the gravest offenses. And I committed also to seeking to move the penalty phase of this to another level, to review the penalties, to determine whether the penalties are sufficient, and then where they are deemed not to be sufficient, to increase those penalties.
Meantime, the Haitian community is preparing to bury the 11 victims of the Cozy Time tragedy this Saturday as authorities continue their search for the suspected captain of that ill-fated vessel. Reporting for NB12, I'm Charisma Robinson.
Today, Mitchell also revealed that he has organized a briefing with United States Embassy officials to get more information on the testing of Predator drones over the Bahamas. International media recently reported that the U.S. has been testing drones over the Bahamas for more than 18 months. The Ingram administration was privy to the testing, but according to Mitchell, that information was not passed on to the Christie administration when it took office. Well, the government says as a matter of priority, it is moving toward a rational and efficient public transportation system. Minister of Transport and Aviation Glenys Hanna Martin says currently there are close to 500 individual franchise holders, and that's an inherent problem. She says the Road Traffic Department has to be given some limited credit for bringing a bit of order to the situation, but the fact of the matter is that bus routes are not properly serviced, and sometimes unfortunate situations happen.
The model that we're looking at is an individual or one umbrella owner, where all of the several owners come together and relinquish their individual ownership for collective ownership in this umbrella organization or corporation.
Once everything is in place, the minister says the government will then move toward implementing a school busing system, something she says is greatly needed for many reasons.